very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education.
Dude. I mean, yeah, no, this is like endgame. We're in the end stage. Nah, that's like, he's like, oh, Project 2025. Don't know what that is. Also, I'm abolishing the Department of Education. Anyway, let's get to it. Trump is going to meet with Biden now. We'll see what that's going to be about, you know?
Now to the latest on the Trump transition. The president-elect is set to meet with President Biden later this week as he focuses on selecting his White House team. Rachel Scott is in West Palm Beach, Florida. And Rachel, the president-elect just nominated a new member of his cabinet overnight.
Exactly, Rebecca. Good morning to you. We just learned moments ago that Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, a top Republican in House leadership, has accepted a role from President-elect Donald Trump to serve as his ambassador to the United Nations. It comes as the president-elect also reveals another key role in his administration, border czar. Overnight, President-elect Donald Trump vowing to crack down on illegal immigration, taking to Truth Social to announce former Immigration and Customs Enforcement Director Tom Homan will serve as border czar. Homan recently spoke at the Republican National Convention, delivering this message to undocumented immigrants.
You better start packing now. You're damn right. Because you're going home.
Homan said Trump will carry out mass deportations of the estimated 12 million undocumented immigrants with a, quote, well-targeted planned operation led by ICE. During Homan's time leading ICE during the first Trump administration, thousands of migrant children were separated from their parents. He was recently asked on 60 Minutes if there's a way to carry out mass deportations without separating families.
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
President-elect Trump still hunkered down at Mar-a-Lago, meeting with his advisors, preparing to announce other key positions, ruling out roles for two Republicans who served in his first administration, writing, I will not be inviting former Ambassador Nikki Haley or former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to join the Trump administration, which is currently in formation. One person who could be influential in the next administration, Elon Musk. Sources tell ABC News that Musk was at Mar-a-Lago, listening in as the president-elect took a congratulations call from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. At one point, Trump even handing Musk the phone to speak to Zelensky himself. The president-elect preparing to travel to Washington to meet President Biden in the Oval Office this week. Biden set to make the case for the U.S. not to walk away from supporting additional aid to Ukraine, something Republicans have been skeptical of.
The president will have the chance to explain to President Trump how he sees things, where they stand, and talk to President Trump about how President Trump is thinking about taking on these issues when he takes office.
Trump will be strengthened by a Republican.
It's called military Keynesianism. Come on, Jack, look alive. Every bomb we drop overseas is a bomb we must create in Scranton at the manufacturing facilities. This is our job, Jack. This is our goal. It's the engine that drives the American economy. Why? Is it widely known that the ICE guy was appointed by Obama before? I literally only know this because you mentioned it in the past, and I've looked it up further this morning.
Majority in the Senate.
The guy
and on the same day of the House meeting,
psycho.
Senate Republicans will be electing their new leader. Trump already weighing in, not with an endorsement, but with a demand that the candidates change the rules to allow him to temporarily appoint some nominees without a Senate vote. Trump writing, we need positions filled immediately. So Republicans will cast a secret ballot to elect a new Republican leader. It comes as Mitch McConnell is stepping down from Republican leader after serving in that position for a decade.
Yeah, Thomas Homan, the number one thumbo on the planet, was, of course, he was going to be in charge of all deportation of illegal aliens back to their country of origin. Trump wrote, adding that there is nobody better at policing and controlling our borders. Interestingly enough, of course, former police officer Thomas Homan, and Border Patrol agent, has worked under 6 presidents during his 3 decades in law enforcement. He was the executive associate director of enforcement and removal operations for ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, under President Obungler. During that administration, ICE carried out a record number of deportations. If you recall, that's why I call Obungler the deportation king. If LeBron ran for president and asked you to be in his cabinet, would you? I would die. I would die on the spot if that was, if such a wonderful thing ever happened in America.
President-elect Donald Trump announced that he will nominate New York member of Congress Elise Stefanik to be the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. She has been one of his closest allies in Congress for years now.
From Lenin to LeBron, okay? Lebron. Let's get back into it. All right, we're going to do border czar. Incoming Trump's border czar.
Trump's granddaughter with Elon Musk, with the Trump family,
What is
and
this?
clearly is finding himself with an influential part of Trump's early sort of cabal of people who are helping set up his new government. It's an interesting development given how much wealth he has, how much conflicts he has throughout the world, what he has already done in China, what he is doing with the war effort in Ukraine, and it will be interesting to see what role he has, official or otherwise, in the Trump administration going forward.
Yes, fingerprints, Elon Musk's fingerprints or Twitter prints all over the place right now during this transition. Steve Conterno, thank you very much for that.
We just heard announced that Tom Homan, the former head of ICE, is going to be Trump's border czar. He had a conversation on 60 Minutes. I want to play a little bit of that.
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together. It's not going to be a mass sweep of neighborhoods. It's not going to be building concentration camps. I've read it all. It's ridiculous.
So, Scott, how do you see this being Trump's policy sort of being meted out?
Well, first of all, I think Mr. Homan is the exact right choice, and I'm glad the president has moved on that so quickly because it was such a big part of his campaign. Number two, look, there's a whole bunch of people in this country that don't need to be here. In fact, there's, I think, 1.3 million people who've already received deportation orders from federal courts. They've already had due process. They need to leave. And so there's a good place to start. There's a whole other bunch of people who are here that we know have committed violent crimes, either where they were or since they've been here. They need to be sent away as well. So there are large numbers of people that need to be taken out of this country, and I think Mr. Homan is going to be the person who's most capable of getting that done. And for those who think that this is somehow unusual, it's not. Every administration deports people. Barack Obama deported all kinds of people, lots of people, in fact. And so it's something that the executive branch can and should do when due process.
Sick, man. I'm glad that the CNN's resident right-wing freak is just going full tilt, blood and soil. I like that. CNN is just like indistinguishable from Fox News now. It's great. Who was the one directing ICE under Obama? It was Tom Homan. No, I know. And I hated it back then. So that's the problem. This is why I fucking criticize the Democratic Party as well as the Republican Party. This is why it's very frustrating. Yes, Barack Obama was known as the deporter-in-chief for this reason. See, this is why you aren't VP turned loser presidential candidate. You can't acknowledge good ideas. It's crazy because people will then turn around and be like, it's crazy because then, you know, people turn around and they're like, we don't have uniparty here. Okay. Yeah. Also, breaking news. The Democrats have officially lost the House, for the record. Republicans win the House, delivering a Trump trifecta. In 2015, President Obama gave him a presidential rank award as a distinguished executive. WAPO quoted saying, Thomas Homan deports people, and he's really good at it. Good thing. Good thing the Dems have been hitting that line, dude. We are becoming an increasingly far-right nation. We've always been pretty far to the right in many respects, okay? Any chance for spoilers in the Red Party? Are we screwed? I mean, they can't be consistent on anything, so there will always be some chaos. Trump has asked Florida Rep Mike Waltz to be his national security advisor. This congressman is known as a China hawk and NATO critic. Waltz worked in the Pentagon as a defense policy director for Secretaries of Defense Donald Rumsfeld and Robert Gates, by the way. He is not a NATO critic. He went on to serve in the White House as the vice president's counterterrorism advisor. Waltz wrote, Warrior Diplomat, a Green Berets battles from Washington to Afghanistan. What the is this? Breaking. Kamala Harris, former comms director, has proposed that Biden step down within 30 days, allowing Harris to temporarily assume the presidency as a symbolic gesture. Oh, that's awesome. That's really stupid. Wow. People are, like a Make-A-Wish kid, dude. First and foremost, you would enforce the actual energy sanctions on Russia. Russia is essentially a gas station with nukes. Putin is selling more oil and gas now than he did pre-war through China and Russia. And you could couple that with unleashing our energy, lifting our LNG ban. And his economy and his war machine will drive very quickly. I just spoke with the Speaker of the Parliament of Lithuania. She buys 85% of her oil and gas from Texas and Louisiana. She said, what do you want me to do? Go back to buying from Russia? Because we've constrained our energy supplies. So I think that Putin will get to the table. We have leverage, like taking the handcuffs off the long-range weapons we provided to Ukraine as well. And then, of course, I think we have plenty of leverage with Zelensky to get them to the table. So it turns out American foreign policy is uniparty across the board. I thought that wouldn't be the case. What happened? Donald Trump, the peaceful dove. Here's Representative Mike Waltz. If Israel fails to fully implement the U.S. demands by November 13th, the U.S. could suspend its military assistance to Israel. While Iran is planning their next attack, Biden and Harris are threatening to hang Israel out to dry to score a win with the progressives before Election Day. This is a betrayal and a threat to America's security. It seems to me like he's not gonna do that. Oh my God, Marco Rubio is gonna be the Secretary of State. Another hawk. Interesting. Little Marco, darkest timeline. President-elect Donald J. Trump is expected to name Senator Marco Rubio of Florida as his Secretary of State. This is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news as of 1 minute ago. Breaking it before CNN does. Okay? Mr. Trump could still change his mind at the last minute, the people said, but appeared to have settled on Mr. Rubio, whom he had considered when choosing his running mate this year. Mr. Rubio was elected to the Senate in 2010 and has staked out a position as a foreign policy hawk, taking hard lines on China and Iran in particular. He initially found himself at odds with those Republicans who were more skeptical about interventions abroad, but he also echoed Mr. Trump more recently on issues like Russia's war against Ukraine, saying that the conflict has reached a stalemate and needs to be brought to a conclusion. All roads lead to war with Iran? No. All roads lead to war with China. Iran first, China tomorrow. Iran now, China tomorrow. Hasan, I love you, but when you like that, it tends to happen, so please maybe don't. Okay, it's not my fault. What do you mean? Mr. Rubio was a loyal surrogate for Mr. Trump during the campaign, even after being passed over as the VP pick. A spokesman for Mr. Rubio declined the comment, and a spokesman for Mr. Trump did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Mr. Trump has made his choice for a number of national security roles. He selected Michael Waltz, a Republican from Florida, to be his national security advisor, and Elise Stefanik to be the ambassador to the United Nations. First, it's your fault Trump won. Now it's your fault if we go to war. Yeah. Freaks, dude. Across the board. Jared Moskowitz hyped up Stefanik's appointment. Ugh, gross. I do find it interesting that Donald Trump is choosing not one but two Floridians to decide the fate of this nation and its foreign policy. Interesting. Marco Rubio says that people in the anti-war camp in America are anti-Semites and pro-terrorists, whether they're on the left or right. And he just said Israel doesn't need our permission to start a war with Iran. Okay, great. Then they don't need our money either. Good to hear. Yeah. Marco Rubio, Israel should respond to Iran in the way that the U.S. would respond if some country launched 180 missiles at us. And they should do in Lebanon what we would be demanding our leaders do if terrorists were launching anti-tank rockets at us from a neighboring country, forcing 60,000 Americans to evacuate their homes and farms for almost a year. What can we do to combat this, bro? I mean, I don't know. Wait, Trump has announced the abolition of the Department of Education?
Doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education.
Dude, I mean, yeah, no, this is like endgame. We're in the end stage. Nah, that's like, he's like, oh, Project 2025, don't know what that is. Also, I'm abolishing the Department of Education.
In Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse.
There's literally no comparison in any of the countries. Like, these guys will be like, China's doing better than us. Like, they'll be like, Norway's doing better than us. And it's like, yeah, dude, they also have departments of education. Like, we need more. We need more nationalization on that process, not less.
Going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up. All those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. Here are 10 key ideas that will power our movement for great schools. First, we will respect the right of parents to control the education of their children. Second, we will empower parents and local school boards to hire and reward great principals and teachers, and also to fire the poor ones, the one whose performance is unsatisfactory. They will be fired. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired. Third, we will ensure our classrooms are focused, not on political indoctrination, but on teaching the knowledge and skills needed to succeed. Reading, writing, math, science, arithmetic, and other truly useful subjects. Fourth, we will teach students to love their country, not to hate their country like they're taught right now. Fifth, we will support bringing back prayer to our schools. Sixth, we will achieve schools that are safe, secure, and drug-free, with immediate expulsion for any student who harms a teacher or another student. Seventh, we will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want. It's called school choice. Eighth, we will ensure students have access to project-based learning experiences inside the classroom to help train them for meaningful work outside the classroom. Ninth, we will strive to give all students access to internships and work experiences that can set them on a path to their first job. They're going to be very, very successful. I want them to be more successful than Trump. Let them go out and be more successful. I will be the happiest person in the world. But we want our children to have a great life and be successful. And 10th, we will ensure that all schools provide excellent jobs and career counseling so that high school and college students can get a head start on jobs and careers best suited to their God-given talents. This is how we will ensure a great education for every American child. And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate.
Why the f are people saying this is a deep fake? I'm losing my goddamn mind. What the f is going on? Half the chat is saying it's an old video. The other half of the chat is saying this is a deep fake. It's from Now This Impact. I think it's an older video of what he's gonna do. Okay? I think it's an older video. Yeah, it's from September 13th, 2023.
Hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. Thank you very much.
You can make everyone shit their pants by repackaging statements he's already made. It's not fake. Not sure about the video, but there are plans now. No, I know. It's gonna get so much worse.